when you drive, it's always straight, and like for hours we go straight and we're never going up and down. And I'm like, yes, because I'm from the Midwest. And when we go home to visit my family, we're surrounded by cornfields and it's flat. But if you were asked, like my friends in college,
Okay, why? So, my friends, this is not the first time when I react to Midwest content. You know, what she said there, the cornfields. Is this really a thing in the Midwest? Today I will be reacting to the don'ts of visiting the US 7 things I wouldn't do in America. This is really interesting for me because probably next year I'm thinking about going to America. So let's see the things I cannot do. But before I go into that, can I ask you for one thing? If you can leave a like, thank you so much, my friend. This is the best way to show support. If you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Now, link for the original video in my description. I love her channel. Give her some love. That said, well, let's play it.
don't miss all the details, including the voucher code below. And otherwise, let's jump into the things, 7 of them, that you should not do when visiting the US.
Okay.
First things first, don't forget to tip.
I know.
Guys, this is so rude when you actually...
Okay, this one, you guys end up mentioning this so many times that this one, I feel like I even before I start eating, I'm already giving the tip and I just pay the bill at the end. You know what I mean? I think I will lose that strategy because you guys keep telling that if you forget to tip, you may go to prison in America. Okay, fair enough. I mean, I'm going to tip 20%. 25 if the service is really good. But in the other end, I feel like it should be almost impossible to forget to tip, right? Because when they give you the thing to put your credit card, in certain places they have already a percentage that you can add, right? Or am I saying something crazy? I don't know this for sure, but I hope that's true.
forget. And I know it can be super confusing, and I understand that it's like, when do you tip, when do you don't tip, how much should I be tipping? And when you're not used to the tipping
20%.
culture, it can be really confusing. But in the US, it's really important to remember that most servers, people working in restaurants, bartenders, they live off of their tips. So their minimum like hourly wage is very small. It's not enough to live on because a majority of what they're making is coming from tips. So when you get good service and you don't tip, you're really screwing somebody over. So it's really important to keep in mind that tipping in the US is very important.
Well, friends, when I started reacting, I knew about the tipping culture, watching movies and stuff like that, but I never understood how important it actually is. Do you guys agree with the tipping culture? Because right now, I feel like it's fair for those people, and the service is also so good, at least going by what you guys tell me, that I think is more than fair. Would you guys agree with my statement? If not, leave me a comment. If so, leave a like.
So, general rule of thumb to give you some ideas of when you tip. We tip when you're in a restaurant, if you're in like a bar or a lounge and you're sitting down and someone's serving you drinks. We tip for taxis and cars and ride shares. If you're getting like a personal service, so for example, a salon, getting your hair done, getting a massage, getting a tattoo, we would tip for that too. And also some smaller things like if someone helps with your luggage at the hotel or at the airport or housekeeping, we tend to leave a bit of tip as well.
So basically everywhere apart from fast food, is that correct, my friends?
In a general rule, I looked this up since I haven't lived in the US in a long time and I wanted to make sure the numbers were right. But on average, most people tip for the smaller stuff like your luggage or housekeeping, somewhere between $2 to $5 that they give. And then if it's a restaurant or a bar, you're sitting down and you're eating or you're drinking, that's more about 15 to 20% of the bill, of the cost of your meal before tax. You don't necessarily have to include tax in your 15 to 20%. I think it kind of depends. And of course,
I never knew that. Okay, so see, you guys really need to be good at math because this is a lot of stuff going on. The tax does not go into the tipping. The tipping does not go into. That's a mess for me. But yeah, I feel like, you know what? I'm gonna use this. This is my idea. I'm being open with you, my friends. André, You go to Louisiana, give me fried chicken. I'm eating fried chicken. How much? $20. $20, okay, 20%. I have to give you, what, $4? But then, you know what? Take five. Take five. 25. Yeah. I think this is the best plan. And I'm broke. But, okay.
Ideas that you're tipping them because you had good service. It's up to your own discretion if the service isn't very good. But one of the great things about living in the US is because people live off of tips, often the service is pretty good. Don't talk about very polarizing subjects. If I were you,
Why this looks like Trump?
I would really stay away from things like gun control, politics, abortion. I mean, these really polarizing subjects where people have their points of view and they're very passionate, is the right word maybe, about their points of view. In France, the French love a good debate. And I have been at dinner parties where
I would say one thing. I feel like in the past year, I guess across all Europe, you could debate this quite more open than you could in America. I feel like. I could be wrong, my friends, but I feel like that was the case. Nowadays, it's quite, there is a lot of tension. You know what I mean? I feel like even sometimes with people that I know, friends, these type of conversations are really difficult because if you have one vision, the other person has, sometimes there is already, probably because of social media, all the talks, this is a lot of those topics, they can be so toxic. Can we agree that, my friends? But I wish that there was more space to have conversations and still, respect the other person. I mean, if you disagree with that, and if you like yellow and I like blue, that's fine. You know what I mean? But okay.
we've spent hours debating about.
But that said, from what you guys tell me, and also reacting to this video, I really have to avoid this type of stuff. To be honest, it's not like I know what I should say about do you like this or that in terms of politics. Honestly, I'm not sure. But yeah.
About things and people have very.
Let's run a bit back, sorry.
Right word maybe, about their points of view. In France, the French love a good debate. And I have been at dinner parties where we've spent hours debating about things and people have very different point of views and they're, really snapping at each other and debating and giving their point of view. And then when it's over, it's done. And the rest of the night just kind of carries on and nobody really thinks about the debate. I would say the general American doesn't have this type of mindset. We tend to be less of a debate culture, and we also tend to have our points of view and be very passionate, which ends up being very aggressive, and then we kind of don't forget what was said during a debate. And obviously I'm generalizing, but if you're going to just visit the US and you don't know people very well there, I think it's just super important to stay away from polarizing subjects. If you know people really well, go for it if you feel comfortable, but I don't know, it's really not a good idea to go into a bar, to drink a little bit too much, to start talking to the American next to you and start bringing up, I don't know, their political points of views. The climate in the US about politics is really polarizing right now, and I feel like you're going to get yourself into a conversation that's way more aggressive and maybe like borderline violent if there's alcohol than you had really expected. So I would just say shy away. Don't.
Violent? No chance. Dude, relax. Okay, oh wow. Wait, is it really this bad? I mean, one thing is to whatever, I'm not talking to you anymore. That's fine, violent. Holy, okay, relax. I mean, at the end of the day, we are all human. I love you all. I approach life this way.
Don't really involve yourself in the super polarizing subjects. I just don't think it's worth it on vacation. Do not respond honestly when someone asks, how are you? Somebody you don't know, of course. So when you walk into places...
No, that's rude. I'm aware that this is more an expression, but this one, I'm sorry. I'm going to go against her claims. If someone in America tells, how are you? I'm doing great, my friend. How are you doing also? And the guy looks at me, what? He answered. I mean, but I will. This is no chance. I mean, I cannot hear someone asking, how are you? No, I will answer.
It's like restaurants and stores in the US, we have a greeting in the US where we just say like, "Hello, how are you?" And we're not expecting an honest response back. So
Oh, damn
normally
it.
what I say is like, "I'm fine, thank you." And I keep walking if it's a store, or I give my name for the reservation.
So that's an answer.
But I've never been like, "Ugh, actually, I've had a really crap day and I just want to talk to somebody about it." I don't even know if the person who's asking would know how to respond. So I would just say tip. It's just a polite way of greeting people in the US. They're not really respecting a response back. And I know French people are like, well, then why do they say it? But it's just kind of like the way in France you absolutely have to say bonjour to people. Often you're going to get a hi, how are you? And just give a little, I'm fine, thank you, and keep going along your business and you will be
Okay.
just fine. Don't think the price you see is the actual price. Ugh.
See, you guys are really good at math. I can tell you.
Sales tax is one of the most annoying things I find when I actually go back to the US now. So something to keep in mind is that the price that you see on something is not actually the final price. It's the price without sales tax. And sales tax is added when you go up to the cashier. It's really, I can't go...
Okay, to be honest, my friends, I think this is not that relevant for daily things. You know what I mean? You know what? Give me fried chicken. Again, I like chicken. $20 now is 21 or 22. I actually don't know. But okay, that's whatever. I mean, it's not like it's the end of the world. But what about? I was thinking about this the other day. What about if you go and buy a car? And the car is 20,000 and all of a sudden it's 24 or 22, you know, because even if the percentage is still the same, that's a world of difference. Or even buying an house, can you imagine? No, for house they probably already put the the tax, I would assume. Or maybe there is not even tax for, I don't know. See, politics, not aware at all.
Go into detail about how
Or, you know, money stuff. No, okay.
much it is, because this really differs by state. And this is also kind of the reason that I've at least read that we don't include sales tax in the final ticket prices, because it changes depending on where you're actually selling the
Makes
goods.
sense.
But in general, you just have to know that you can't really like count your change out exactly before you get up to the cashier, because you never know how much is going to be added on. And of course, when it's like a candy bar that costs like $2, it's not a big deal for the extra 5 cents. But when you're going to buy like a $2,000 like electronic and they add like $250 on top, you're like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. So it's super frustrating, but just don't ever think that the price that you see is really the final price, because there's always going to be sales tax added on. And if you're in a restaurant, then you've got to add that tip on. So there's just some extra things at the end that you have to figure out.
Numbers.
Don't generalize all Americans. I feel like this shouldn't surprise any of the French people out there, because people hate when we talk about Parisian things and we call them French things. And I get this on a lot of my videos if I ever make this mistake. So you shouldn't be
Okay.
too surprised to know that Americans don't love it either. It's so large, the US, and there's so many states, and in every state you've got your own culture and your own history and often your own vocabulary, your own way of doing things, and so it's normal. But someone from California isn't necessarily going to love being compared to somebody from Massachusetts, because maybe there's a lot of similarities, but maybe there's a lot of differences.
This is fair. This is fair. I mean, yeah, someone from Montana is so different than someone from Texas. Someone from Texas is so different than someone from Portugal. André, what? No, sorry. Yeah, but this makes a lot of sense.
I always talk to my husband about this, because he'll say things like, yeah, well, in the US, you can just, when you drive, it's always straight. And like for hours, we go straight and we're never going up and down. And I'm like, yes, because I'm from the Midwest. And when we go home to visit my family, we're surrounded by cornfields and it's flat. But if you were asked, like my friends in college,
Okay, why? So, my friends, this is not the first time when I react to Midwest content that I see what she said there, the cornfields. Is this really a thing in the Midwest? And if that's a thing, why is in the South that they eat so much corn? Because when I react to they eat cornbread, But in the Midwest, so the Midwest produces the Southeast, is how this goes. I know this is kind of stupid, but I actually wonder.
Up and down, and I'm like, yes, because I'm from the Midwest, and when we go home to visit my family, we're surrounded by cornfields and it's flat. But if you were asked, like my friends in Colorado, if driving is straight and flat, they'd say no, because there's so many mountains. So just keep in mind that the US is huge, and just like France, there's so many different regions and ways of doing things, and depending on where you're visiting and where you're going, your experience could be very different from somebody else visiting a different part of the US. So just, try not to generalize as much as you can, which is kind of funny because I'm literally generalizing right now in this video about Americans, but what can I do?
Hey, it is what it is.
Don't walk in someone else's yard. So this one...
Why in the world I would have done that? I'm sorry, this is a type of advice. Basically, this advice is do not do illegal stuff. Well, thank you. I was not aware of that. Oh, wait. No, this makes sense actually. Certain backyards, they don't have the things, Oh no. Oh, how can I tell the difference between public and private? Wait, am I crazy?
What can I do? Don't walk in someone else's yard.
Oh, there is no fences, right.
So this one sounds like super bizarre, but I've actually seen people get in like shouting matches about people walking in their yard. And when I'm saying yard, I'm not talking about like acres of land. I'm talking about literally like a tiny little yard in front of their house. So it sounds crazy, but it's really, I think, more common than you could imagine. So
oh no, this actually makes sense because it is almost impossible. There is always some type of fence around, so you cannot do it unless you are a criminal. You know what I mean? But imagine if I'm walking up my dog in America, and you don't have a dog and you are not... Okay, hypothetical. I'm walking my dog in America, and... oh no, this is dangerous actually, because I will not be able to tell the difference between public and private. Private property versus,
In the US, technically, it is illegal to walk on somebody else's lawn, no matter how big or how small it is. It's actually called trespassing. But I did a bit of research, and just FYI, there is like a slim to no chance that you would ever get a ticket from the police or get in actual trouble for walking on someone else's lawn. However, you might encounter a very aggressive person who takes it very seriously.
Wait, can someone shoot me if I do that? Oh no. Okay. See, this is the best advice ever. Because I never thought about this until now. No chance. Imagine if I died. Oh my God. Well.
That you're walking on their lawn. So just in general, if you're meandering around towns where you're walking on people's streets, I wouldn't walk in their grass if I can avoid it. And if you're bringing like your dog along, for example, I wouldn't let them do their business in somebody else's grass. And if they do, I would just like pick it up obviously quickly and like kind of skedaddle out of there. It sounds like something so small, but it's really actually, I think, kind of like more important than you would think. So just
no, this is important.
Look at the houses from afar, and you'll be good to go.
Okay.
Don't say the U.S. has no history or no culture. So
this is them. Yeah, American have a lot of history. I mean, there is millions of native history, right? Am I saying something off? I believe there is millions of years. That's crazy. And people should talk more about that because I was watching a video, actually not even reacting, I was watching this alone about Native Americans because I really got interested on that topic. And it's crazy, a lot of things they knew. It's crazy. And sometimes I know I have some people watching me that are, related with Native Americans. I would love to know you, my friends, if you are in that particular case, because it's kind of fascinating.
I do get this quite a bit more than you would think in France. Sometimes when I'm like, oh, I'm homesick for a bit of American culture, history, or something, and I get the response like, do you want to go eat a cheeseburger? Or like, wait, you mean the
Huh?
200 years of history in the US versus like the 1,000 years of history that you have
What?
here in France? And I'm like, okay, yes, I get it. We do not have the same like long history that you have in Europe, and you're not like most certainly not going to find
But that's not true. I actually believe you guys also is different, but there is some history, and is also crazy old. This is weird. This is a European defending American history, but I really believe this is a stereotype that makes zero sense and shows lack of knowledge in the other side.
like middle-aged buildings on every corner like you can see here, but we still do have some like historical and cultural things to be proud of in the US. We've got, great music like the blues and jazz, and we've got Hollywood films, and we do
The America is after my country, is my second favorite country in the world. By far. The third, I don't know. I may have to think about one. Maybe Japan. I'm not sure.
have our own cuisine, and we've got amazing like writers and poets, and we have great like top international schools for education. We do have some things to be proud of, guys. Well, of course we have many things to tweak. It's not all bad, and I think it's very much part of the French kind of like persona and personality to have a little bit of superiority, not just over Americans but over just everybody, and think French
I know this is a stereotype, but I went to France years ago, and I spent a good amount of time there. Beautiful place, beautiful people, amazing people also, but this one I kind of agree.
France is the best. So I do understand that, that's just kind of the natural thing to do in France, is to kind of criticize. But in the US, we're, as I said, a little bit more sensitive, a little bit less into the criticism. So when you're visiting the US, I would just say leave a little bit of that teasing, like superiority at home, and just try to focus on some of the really cool stuff that you can see in the US.
Fair.
All right, guys, I hope you liked my 7 tips
Oh, great
about
to
what
read it.
not to do when you're in the US. I will love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. What did you appreciate? What do you kind of disagree with? What would you add to the list for everybody?
No, this list was really, no joke, this one was impactful to me. I never thought about the yards, because since they are open, that's a problem.
Now with part 1 and 2.
By the way, when I said someone, I feel like I overreacted. Of course, no one would shoot me, right? But I was overreacting.
I've got 14 tips, so please let me know if you think there are other things that I should have added. Leave them in the comments, and don't forget, if you're interested in Lingoda, to check out all the details below in the video description, especially my voucher code. And otherwise, I will see everybody next week.
Thank
Hope
you.
you guys are all having a great summer. Bisous!
Bisous. Bye bye. Au revoir. Oh, c'est très fantastique. No, but jokes aside, this video was quite amazing. I really enjoyed it. I mean, a lot of times when she shares the American perspective versus the European one, tends to be one of the content creators I agree the most, and I like the most, being open with you, my friends. That said, thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to leave a like. See you guys next time.